Welcome back. The John Deere Classic shaped up as simply a run for the all-time scoring record for Steve Stricker. After all, Charlie, no one was within 6 shots of the number 4 player into the world heading into Sunday. And even if he tied his worst round of the week at 66, he could tie the all-time scoring record. So here are the highlights. Stricker on 11, third shot on the par 4, the greenside bunker.
Yeah, this came out a little bit low, and I wasn't able to get much spin on it. The mistake he made was on his approach. He missed this green from the fairway.
So that would cost him a bogey, dropping to 26 under par. His lead down to 3 shots. Paul Goydos now, this a birdie putt on 13.
Well, Paul Goydos, the veteran, he knows this golf tournament's not over.
He rolls that in, gets to 24 under, just 2 shots back. Now Goydos on 17. This for eagle. He needs to make really a good run at Stricker to put some pressure on him.
Well, he made a good run at this eagle pitch, but wasn't able to get it any closer than that. Well played, though.
The birdie would get him to 25 under. Stricker now, his birdie putt on 17.
Got in some trouble off the tee, had to lay up, wedged it to this point, then left to right curler. Dead on perfect for Steve Stricker.
So Stricker takes a 2-shot lead to the final hole, then he drove it right, and he needs to lay up, and that's not a good layup.
Yeah, this is the second consecutive day that he drove it right here at the 18th, and you got it right, Scott. That's not where he wanted to put that golf ball.
So he's got to clear the water here to secure this lead. So Goydos, this his approach, trying for birdie, and that could be enough.
Yeah, this is a tough old location, and he knows he's got to try and stuff it, and he just overcooked that. It was an aggressive play by Paul Goydos, doing what he felt like he needed to do to win the golf tournament.
So most of the pressure off of Stricker, just get it over the water and get your win here, and he does a little bit more than that.
Yeah, this wasn't an easy golf shot coming out of that rough. A lot of places that golf ball could have ended up. He was real happy it ended up right there.
So Stricker, the putt for par was left short, but just leaves him this little tap in, and this, a 2-shot victory over Paul Goydos. And Stricker shoots a 1 under 70 in that final round. And there is the trophy. The second straight year he's held that trophy. So Stricker did not beat the all-time PGA Tour record, but he did set a new scoring record for the tournament on his way to a successful title defense. Paul Goydos shot a 59 this week, and he got into the Open Championship as well. An exemption is given to the highest finisher within the top 5 who was not already in. Goydos earned that spot with his second place finish. So you see now Steve Stricker, Charlie, he joins 3 others with multiple wins on the PGA Tour this season, and only Tiger Woods has more tour wins than Stricker since the start of 2009. What does that mean?
Well, it means he's a heck of a good golfer, Scott. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And he's had some close calls as well. I mean, Steve's a guy, this is the second time he's reinvented himself. And, boy, he sure has figured out how to play the game. I really like his mental approach. Just how steady he is. There's no big ups or downs with Steve Stricker. And a guy that just flat knows how to play the game.
Mike Ritz now talked to Stricker, the winner again at TPC Deere Run, and our Titleist Tour Report.
Scott, thanks very much. Well, it wasn't easy. I guess it never really is easy, Stevie. I guess you needed every bit of that 6-shot lead, didn't you?
It was tough. You know, you like to have a big lead coming into Sundays, but it's a tough position to be in. I found, you know, at Northern Trust, I think I had 7 shots going into Sunday, and you feel like a totally different person. At least I have in these 2 rounds. You know, I lost my aggressiveness a little bit today. You just don't want to make a mistake, and it's a tough way to play golf. And you know, even my putting was defensive. You know, I really didn't make anything until 17 when I had to, and so it was a tough day. You know, happy with the win. Paul put a lot of pressure on me. He played great all week, and that's nice to see also.
I asked you earlier this week, you know, you come back after a couple of weeks off, you had the injury earlier this year. I asked you if you were satisfied with this year so far, and you said, no, I'm going to keep getting better, and obviously you have.
Yeah, you know, I always want to improve, you know, and that's the good thing. I'm getting older, but yet I still want to keep trying to get better. So that shows me that I still, you know, strive to do good things out here on tour. So the Ryder Cup was, you know, a huge goal, and hopefully I made some good strides towards that this week. And, you know, so there's still a lot of, you know, things hanging out there. A major up in Wisconsin later in the year that I'd love to play well at. So, you know, a lot of good golf and a lot of golf left.
It's obviously a very special place for you, isn't it?
It is. It's very nice. I enjoy coming here. Get a lot of family, a lot of friends. seem to play well here too lately, so that's a good thing too.
Well, congratulations on another victory, a great week, and thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Mike.
So Steve Stricker with his 9th career win. Let's head it back to Orlando.
Mike, thank you. Steve, congratulations. The Stricker actually had a 6-shot lead at the Northern Trust after 3 rounds. He won by 2. That was the same thing that happened on Sunday. So what do you make of that?
Well, winning with a big lead is a little more challenging than it looks. It's easy to look in on these golf tournaments as a fan and almost think of it as a video game. It's very much not a video game, folks. You know, even if you're an accomplished player like Steve Stricker, who's now over $26 million in career earnings, sleeping on that lead is challenging. It's a little bit restless, especially on a golf course that you know can give up really good scores, and you want to stay in the zone, but sometimes it's pretty difficult to do. He did a good job of getting through it today because he did not have his best stuff. He was a little bit shaky at times. This was at the 11th, playing from the fairway, 170 yards, one that he normally would handle, and he has been all week, no problem. He made bogey there. At the 13th, this from 88 yards, this is one that Steve Stricker is going to stuff into within 10 feet of the hole nearly every time. Watch his reaction here. This is not a good golf shot, even though it's not that far away from the hole. It's very close to being dangerous. But what he did was come through when he needed to. This was on the 15th, the last place on the golf course he can get in really bad trouble and make a big number. He drove this 306 in the heart of the fairway. And then when he got to the 17th, this was critical. This was to ensure that he comes to the 18th with at least a 2-stroke lead. He poured that left to right slider into the hole. That was a golf tournament for him right there.
What does he need to do to be a factor at St. Andrews?
Well, he needs to get this momentum that he established this week over the pond, and that's a little bit harder to do than it is to talk about doing it. You know, you're looking at a long flight, trying to get adjusted to the big time change. But you know, I would love coming into a major with a win. A lot of folks talk about how that's a little bit challenging. You've got to be feeling good about yourself. The main problem is going to be the scoring. You know, you're not going to shoot 26 under at St. Andrews, not even close to it. 15 under would be a great score, but you have to adjust his expectations a little bit, get used to the slower turf, the firmer conditions, that sort of stuff. But I like coming in on a high.